Hello and welcome back to another video, people. Welcome back to the YouTube channel and welcome to your very own Premier League predictions, people. We're back again. Another year, another Premier League predictions. And yeah, if you are OG on the channel, if you're an OG of the YouTube channel, you will know that I've got my guy Jay on for another, what we do as a tradition. So what we do as tradition. We did this last year, did this a couple of years ago as well. But yeah, we are going into our Premier League predictions. Jay, how you been, man? How you been?
Yeah, man, like you said, we were just discussing off camera. This is a yearly tradition now. So you guys know I do this every year with Mikey. We had a great time last year. A lot of interesting predictions. So I'm looking forward to doing it once again.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this as well, and might as well just get started. I'm gonna let you go first, bro. Uh, who's getting relegated for you? 20th to 18th, and your reasoning.
So in the relegation zone, I obviously it would be everybody would expect it to be the people that got promoted last season. But
Mm.
I've gone slightly different. So I've gone Leeds 20th, Burnley 19th, and Wolves to be 18th. So
Mm.
I'll start off with Leeds. For me, going into the season, I think they have the least Premier League experience across their whole squad. If you look across their squad, you know, they've brought in a couple of people, Sean Longstaff, I'm seeing here. Obviously, they've let go of Junior Firpo. They have brought in players like Lucas Nemecha, who I rate, plays in Wolfsburg, played in the German league before. But for me, just not enough experience. And I don't know if you're convinced by Daniel Farker. I heard apparently when it comes to the Premier League, they always get relegated every single time. So
Mm.
it, it it's not looking good for them so far. So for me, I have to put I'd own based on the experience that they have across the squad and the manager they have. I don't think they'll go as far as the other two teams. I don't think they're as ready as the other two teams. And then moving on to Burnley after an amazing season, only 20 goals, 20 something goals conceded in the championship last year. Um, Added some experience. The shock. I think the shock of the window, Carl Walker moving over there. So
Yeah.
again, Scott Parker's done a great job. Whether it's again, but it's more about Premier League experience, like across their whole squad. Obviously, the massive loss of James Trafford, obviously recently going to Manchester City, massive loss for them. Brought in a couple decent signings, but again, the gap between Premier League teams and the relegation teams, I think, will be again too much for them. And then turning to my final team, of course, Wolves. Obviously, the loss of Cunha would be massive. One of their star players, and as of right now, what I'm looking here on the transfer list, it's like they haven't at least replaced him yet. They've brought in Fer Lopez, Hugo Bueno, obviously Strand Larson after his good loan move. But for me, they haven't brought in enough players for me to convince me that they're going to take a step up. And as much as I like their manager, again, who knows what's going to happen between now and the end of the season? But if you're asking me right now, I'd have to put Wolves in up there, but I'll explain why later on, why it's not Sunderland. But yeah, those are my three relegated teams.
Yeah, I've gone similar, but the reason why I've gone with these three is because I made this mistake last season of saying that two teams were going to survive last season out of the promoted sides. So I've just gone
Yeah,
basic. I've gone basic. I wasn't going to. I had other teams in there, but I've gone similar. I've said 20th Burnley because
yeah,
for me, Scott Parker not good enough to be in the Premier League, but good enough for the Championship. I feel like he's in that loop right now, where he's one of them ex players that can do a good job in the Championship, can coach well in the Championship, but as soon as he gets to the Premier League, I don't think he knows how to adjust, in my opinion. And I think, to be fair, Dubravka is not a bad replacement as an experienced goalkeeper, but I think he's past his best. Josh Brownhill is a big loss. I don't think people realize how much of a loss that is because Josh Brownhill over the past few years, he's done really well for Burnley. He's been one of their shining lights. Don't get me wrong, I do rate some of their players like Josh Cullen. I've always rated from his West Ham days. But even losing Egan Riley, for example, as well to Marseille, Egan Riley's
yeah,
a big loss. That's a big loss, and the defense is important. From when you're getting promoted from the Championship to the Premier League, I think Esteve is a good player. He signed a new contract. Leslie Okachukwu is a good signing, but I just don't think he'll it'll be enough just because of the firing power up front. The firing power up front, they haven't got enough of that, in my opinion, and I don't feel like they're solid enough, to be honest, at the back. So, as much as they conceded only 15 goals in the championship, it's going to be a big culture shock for them again. I don't think it'll be as bad as maybe like called the Vincent Company days, but at the same time, like in terms of that naivety, but right now with the Premier League, they probably are even 19th or 20th best, and that's why Leeds have gone with 19th because
Yeah,
I don't rate Daniel Farker. I don't rate Daniel Farker as a Premier League manager again. I don't get me wrong, they do have some Premier League experience, as you said, like Daniel James's Premier League experience, Nonto's Premier League experience, sort of. But a lot of it a lot of it is hope. A lot of it is hope on flary young players on the counter. Like Ramanzani is a good player, but I don't know whether he's enough to take them like straight up there. Like they don't have a striker really. Like Joel Piru and Mateo Joseph. Mateo Joseph, good young player. Joel Piru is a championship player for me. Like, and Daniel Farker's way too naive. And the whole rumors of Leeds about to sack Daniel Farker when they got promoted, they should have gone through with that and got an actual manager. Like, because the Premier League's gone past these managers that are there for the yo-yo sort of sides. Like Farker did this at Norwich. In fact, Farker won a game at Norwich and then got sacked, and then they hired Dean Smith and they still got relegated. Like that's Norwich for you, and then that not been back since. So if Leeds were smart and they've got a better ownership than last time when they were in the Premier League, because when they had that ownership under Bielsa, they weren't backing him. They're actually more active in the transfer window, but a lot of players are rejecting them. A lot of players are rejecting him, so it's not looking good for Leeds. It'll be quite boring if they went down, to be honest, because they did all of that to come back up. I still think Daniel Farker should have been sacked when he lost to Southampton in that playoff final, because I think most managers would have got that Leeds squad promoted to the Championship because it was quite clear of most teams there. But I put Leeds there. And 18th, people are going to be mad at me for this, but Sunderland. The reason why I've gone with that is just because I'm not even doing it because of the whole three promoted teams, three go down, etc. My whole thing is Sunderland still need to prove a lot to me that they can stay up, just because we've seen this with Ipswich before. We've seen this with other teams as well, like even Burnley under Company, where you're active in a transfer window, but a lot of those players haven't been able to settle in with each other because you're buying them throughout the whole preseason campaign, and then they don't really gel with each other. You're kind of waiting until November, Christmas to actually gel, and then by the time you get to that point, you're struggling. I think they have done though that is more smart than what Ipswich and Burnley have done is they've also signed experience. So getting Granit Xhaka over the line and then getting Arthur Masuaku, funny enough, that's a here we go of today. It's going to be very interesting to see how he does because I liked Masuaku at West Ham, and he'll be playing against us on the first day, funny enough. But they've got some good players. They've lost, even though they've lost Joe Bellingham, they've got Enzo Laffy, they've got Trey Hume, they've got Daniel Ballard. I'm just not sure that the whole spine is going to be ready for the Premier League at the same time. Like Mayenda and players like that are good young players, but are they good enough to score enough goals to keep them up? I am not too sure at this current moment in time. So I still think their attack is a bit too championship-ish. I think they've got good midfield. It's just the defense and attack, how they're going to do in both boxes is interesting. Their manager is adaptable though, so we'll see. I hope they don't go the naive route of just playing up from the back and then just giving the ball away all the time, because you need to do it. You need to play at the back at the right times and then go direct at the right times for me. You can't just do one or the other. But they are trying to sign experience as well. And what was worrying me about them is that if you were just going down the young route of just signing young players, that's not enough to keep you up. It's just way too like you don't gotta have experience to stay up. You gotta have experience to stay up straight up like that. But I guess we could do 17th to 15th next.
yeah. I mean, I'll start. I might as well start because I put Sunderland 17th. Agree with everything you said. I think whether how it's going to be in both boxes for them will be very, very crucial. I do want to bring up as well another good signing, Simon Adingra. I rated him very highly at Brighton. I think he'll be a good signing, make a good impact. And I was a bit, I was very surprised when he actually went there. But I guess first team football, he'll get a lot of minutes there. But yeah, I agree with the whole. They've signed a lot of experience in the Premier League, and I do think that will help them across the season. Whether it will be enough to get them over the line is why I put them just above Wolves, just because of the quality. But again, I think I agree in the sense that Sunderland have a lot to prove, and this is their first time back in the Premier League for I think over 10 years. I think, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. So yeah, they'll have a lot to prove, but I put them 17th, and then just above them, a team that has been really ripped apart, especially in the last over the summer, is got to be Brentford. Um, Obviously, the loss of Mbeumo would be massive. That's 20 goals you've lost just straight off the bat like that. And obviously, Wissa now wants to leave. You know, you've got lost your captain in Norgard and lost your manager in Thomas Frank. And now you have a coach that hasn't really been in that position before in the Premier League. Is he going to be able to handle the pressure? Is he going to be able to deal with it? You know, there's questions about that. They've lost their top goalkeeper in Mark Flecken as well. Obviously, I know they replaced him with Mark Kelleher. Whether he'll do well or not is up for debate as well. But like I guess similar to who did I say it was Wolves? They didn't replace their top players yet. Um, I do still think they have Kevin Schade, who I rate really highly. I've got also they brought in Jordan Henderson, which
Yeah.
one of the surprises this season as well. But yeah, Brentford for me will have a massive drop. Whether it will be enough to get them relegated, I don't think so. Just because they've been in there so long, I think it will be just about enough to keep them up. But it will be a very hard season for Brentford fans. I think, especially at the beginning. I think they don't have a easy first 5 or 6 fixtures to start the season off. So yeah, and then in 15th, I have to put your team, unfortunately, West Ham. Um, Look, I know I've seen the videos. You've been very vocal about how poor your start to the window was, especially with the lack of activity and the players you were bringing in. You know, I from what you said to me last season, you were putting very, very low expectations because of the new manager that came in that eventually got sacked. And then when Graham Potter came in, I thought to myself, okay, this is now you're going to go forward. But it's not it wasn't as big of a bounce as I expected. I really thought maybe you'd be pushing for that at least top 10 sort of places, but your squad's in a lot worse condition than I initially anticipated. You said it yourself, you weren't happy with the midfield. And you know, the recent signings, I watched your game against Manchester United in the summer series. I thought Jude was great. You know, you've brought in Carl Walker Peters, you've brought in Callum Wilson, which you could say isn't an upgrade on Antonio, but it's something at least. So I think it's more of, I think, just staying stable and hoping that you just stay in the Premier League. But I don't think you have too much to worry about. But I think there's other teams that are slightly more quality than you are right now. Hence why you're 15th.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Like for me, 17th, I've also gone Brentford.
Yeah.
I've gone Brentford. Like, do you know what it is for me? I think they have enough to stay up just about. They're trying to get Dango Uwatara, who would be a good signing, but I don't know why, as from his perspective, he's considering his options from Bournemouth to then go to Brentford. But that's just me personally. Maybe he wants to move to London or whatever. But Kevin Schade, yeah, he stepped up over the last 6 months of last season. Damsgaard is still there. Damsgaard's a good player. Obviously, losing Norgard is a big blow for them because Norgard's been basically at the forefront of their midfield for a very long time. So him, Janelt, and Jensen had some form of relationship on the pitch, but they've still got Janelt and Jensen. Henderson, as much as I have an opinion on why he shouldn't be in the England squad, he's very good experience for someone who's trying to stay stable in the Premier League. I think the problem they're going to have is the coaching. For me, it's the coaching. It's like you're going from Thomas Frank to a set piece coach in Keith Andrews, who I know played for the club. I know he knows the club, but that's not enough to stay up. That's never been enough to do anything in football for you just knowing the club. It's never been enough. That's just a lot of passion. That's a lot of like sentiment involved. But for me, unless he sticks to maybe what the Brentford players know, then maybe they'll be fine. I just think their centre backs are quite slow and their fullbacks suffer a lot of injuries. Like Keane Lewis Potter was playing at left back throughout the whole of last season because Rico Henry and Aaron Hickey were injured. Rico Henry was injured for the whole of last season because he got injured 2 seasons ago. And I'm pretty sure he suffered
Mhm.
another setback, which is very unlucky. Coyote, though, they signed him on a permanent. He looks promising. So they've still got some good players, but a very uninspiring coaching appointment, I have to say. But if they get one more player, one more attacker, I think they'll just about be fine. Obviously, Wisa will probably leave, maybe eventually. If he doesn't, then cool. Then cool. They got lucky there. But replacing Brian Mbeumo is going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult because he's been doing this thing for time, even when Ivan Toney was there, and he wasn't getting his credit when Ivan Toney was there. 16th, I've got Wolves. The only reason why I put Wolves 16th is because I think Wolves have a better coach than Brentford. As much as they've got worse players, Wolves still have enough of a stable midfield and a couple new centre backs where I think their centre backs are just about better than Brentford's, just about, because Sepp van der Berg's
Yeah,
good, Christopher Ayer is good, Ethan Pinnock is good, but he's on his last legs in my opinion, just because he's been running to the
Nathan
ground a
Collins as
bit.
well.
Nathan Collins has been really good, to be fair. So their new centre backs, Wolves have done really well, like as well. Munetsi has made an impact last 6 months. I think the problem with Wolves is goals. It always has been the past few years. I think ever since Raul Jimenez left, they've struggled for goals. They've struggled for goals. So my whole thing, the reason why they're going to stay though, Andre and João Gomez. That two in midfield, they cover the space like mad. Like I think they'll be slightly harder to beat, and if they can keep it like that, then cool. They can do well. But replacing Cunha, they lost Neto last year. They're gonna have to rely on a lot of what they have, and it's quite difficult for them to score goals. I think my thing is with them, they always hire a manager and then sack him like 2 years later because of how bad their original appointment was, even though they started really well. They always have a new manager bounce. When it's Bruno Lage, Gary O'Neill, and Vitor Pereira, like they went on that mad run at the back end of the season, but Wolves maybe just about stay up. But just about. I think Wolves and Brentford just about stay up. But I also wouldn't be surprised if Sunderland did stay up. But it's just a case of surely we'll sign a striker in January or sign a striker now, where
Yeah,
they just about get that bounce to keep them up. Maybe someone from the Championship that's like willing to prove themselves or whatever. Like, but you never know with Wolves. Honestly, that their ownership's so bad that if they got relegated, I don't think nobody would be surprised because they have money, but they just don't spend it. That's my problem with them. 15th, I've gone with Everton. The reason why I've
yeah,
gone with Everton is because I know they're trying to get Tyler Dibling. I know they've got Dewsbury Hall, but I know what David Moyes is like from first-hand experience. I think he will keep them stable, but settling into a new stadium, it's not Goodison Park anymore. It's harder than people think. Our clubs know about that, especially in the Emirates era and the London Stadium era. Like we know about this, especially when settling into a new stadium is difficult, especially straight away. Like it doesn't feel like home unless you play like a season there, really, and then you get used to it. Because even Tottenham, for example, they had to play at Wembley. They transferred to their new stadium and didn't really feel like home for them until the back end of the Champions League run and stuff. So it takes a while to settle into your new home, and I feel like people don't realize that until you move stadium. I know that first time because when I first went 16, 17 seats to London Stadium, it did not feel like home. And it still doesn't really, to be honest. But with Everton, at least their stadium looks somewhat like a football stadium. It looks like a Bundesliga stadium, to be honest, but it still looks like somewhat like a football stadium. But I think their squad is good enough to stay up, but not good enough to do anything above mid-table. Because Tino Barry is a lot of reliant on him. A lot of reliance because Beto is not at it at the moment. Even Moyes has come out to complain. The problem I have is that Moyes will want signings and not play them, or he'll misuse them. So I think Dewsbury Hall will play. I think he'll do well. I think they've got actually all right midfielders, to be honest. Tim Burnham's a good young player. Garner Gay's good experience. James Garner's a good player. That's a good midfield. That's a good stable midfield. Iliman Ndiaye is a standout player. He's a really, really good player. He's just really good to watch. Just fun to watch. It's something that we've lacked in the Premier League for a bit. But the reliance on like a Dwight McNeil, for example, and players like that, and Mikalenko, I think will come back to bad. I don't think Mikalenko is a bad player. I think he's a nice, honest player, but I just think you could always do better than some of these players that are like not like great technically, but they're like honest and hardworking. You need both. You need both. You need someone who's a bit more technically sound, but someone that can, put in the hard yards. Their defense as well, and the way they play in possession in the summer series, they were giving the ball away like it was no man's land. They were just kicking the ball off the
mm,
pitch, and it was very confusing to me of why they were giving the ball away so needlessly like this. But people like Branthwaite, Tarkovsky, and Jake O'Brien, they'll do all right. I think they'll draw a lot of games. I don't think they'll be in a relegation battle, but I think they'll be just above. But that's my opinion. Should we do 14th to 12th then?
yeah. I guess I'll go back to your point on Everton because I put them 14th. Pretty much agree with everything you said. I mean, their signings haven't been as convincing. I agree with the thing about David Moyes. I mean, he was talking about needing at least 9 players, which is a lot. And even if you do get those 9 players, can they really push forward above all the other teams that they finished behind based on last season? I mean, you've only got better there up front now. And obviously, you talked about Tiano Barry, but we don't know how he's going to perform in the Premier League. I did watch their game against Manchester United in the summer series as well, and again, it wasn't really convincing. I mean, they lost out on lots of players last season as well. I mean, Abdoulaye Doucouré, one of their best players last season. I mean, just gone completely. And you know, it's again similar story to the teams below, like not replacing what you've lost, and I think that will cost them. But I think Everton are experienced enough side not to be relegated, but I think it'll be just same as always and see where you can go from there. So yeah, Everton for me 14th. After that, I've gone 13th, and for me, looking at this now, I may regret this, but I put Bournemouth. And as much as I rate Iriola and stuff, they've again lost out on you know their core, their defense, which is very good. And as much as I trust Iriola to manage their players well. They brought in Trofe to replace Kirkes, who's obviously gone off to Liverpool, in Petrovic to replace Kepa, who obviously came to us. But again, not replacing a lot what they lost. They haven't brought in that many players, only 3 players, as I can see here at the moment. But again, I think Bournemouth went above and beyond last year, but I think this one will be a bit of a reality check. Not enough for them to get worried, but I think Bournemouth fans won't be too worried, especially to finish mid-table. And then in 12th place, I've gone with Crystal Palace. Obviously, as of recording, we don't know if they're going to be in the Europa League yet. I personally do hope they do get the Europa League place
They've
because
been
I think they
confirmed
deserve
Conference
it.
League. They've been confirmed
Oh,
Conference
they
League.
have.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
sorry, I didn't know that. So they are going to be playing Europe next season. That's good to hear. But yeah, I think Palace again went above and beyond. But I think is this their squad depth good enough for to handle Europe yet? I'm not too sure. Looking at the amount of people, I don't think Crystal Palace have made that many notable signings as of May. They brought in Sosa from Ajax, but I'm seeing a lot of outgoings at the moment. So I think again, I don't think Palace fans will be too disappointed if they finish too far below. I think they'll be more focused to see how they do in Europe. So I think as long as they stay around mid-table, I don't think they'll be too worried.
Yeah, fair enough. 14th. This might be unpopular, but I don't care. Nottingham Forest. And the reason why I put
Wow,
Nottingham
fair
Forest
enough.
there is because Elanga's gone. One. Two, it doesn't look like a happy camp right now. Just because the preseason has been horrible. Like, apparently Nuno has tried to change the style of football to go a bit more attacking. They ended up losing to Birmingham. They didn't score against Birmingham, who had just been promoted from League One to the Championship. And obviously, it's not about preseason results, but it's about how good the preseason's been in terms of fitness and gelling together. Their signings, they've signed a couple Brazilian league players from that, done well in the Club World Cup, but at the same time, I think what it is with Nuno and this style of football and teams like this that get into Europe is it's all good for like a season or 8 months until you get figured out. And I feel like at the back end of last season, when they were trying to go for top four, they got figured out. And I think what's a big focus on what sometimes I forget to do when I'm predicting stuff is the form at the back end of last season always carries on into the start of the next season, despite the fact that there's a break, a transfer window, and a pre-season. And I don't think Forest will be as hard to beat as they were because they started to leak goals at the back end of last season. And I think as much as Murillo, I rate a lot of their players, like Murillo, Milinkovic, Ola Aina, Hudson Odoi, Chris Wood. I like these players. But I think they might lose Sangare for Douglas Luiz. I think that's like a swap. Like Douglas Luiz is a good player, but Sangare is also a good player. But I don't think he's got the best out of it. I don't think Gibbs White is in the right mindset. I know he signed a new contract and stuff, but that looked like a hostage situation with this contract video and stuff. So I don't necessarily think it's a complete happy camp there. To be honest with you, because I don't think much of them are confident in what they're doing right now. Obviously, there was a whole rumors of Nuno even leaving last season and stuff like that as well. So it'll be debatable if Nuno would even last the season if he finishes in that position because of what their owner is like. Not that because he's a terrible manager, but I think he's one of the managers that's like he will get you Europe one season, then he'll give you mid-table mediocrity. He's not going to keep you there like an Emery or Eddie Howe. Like that, he's not that level of manager. But also, the Thursday Sunday football is dark. It's dark. It is. It can get treacherous, and then they're in the Europa League as well. So because of Crystal Palace's Leon situation, they're in the Europa League now. So they're not going to win that. They're not going to win that. I'll be real. I'm not trying to completely write them off, but like I'm going to be so real. You need a lot of experience or a lot of unity just to win a Europa League. And if there's anyone that's going to win the Europa League in front of Premier League, if it's going to be anyone, it's going to be Villa because it's of Emery. Like Nuno, he's been there with Wolves, but not for that long. Not for that long. Emery's done it, been there, done it before. With Forest as well, it's just a case of like, can Elanga be replaced well on the counter? Because Elanga was so crucial to the counter. He's pretty much the forefront of their counter attacks. Can Chris Wood turn up again? He is getting older, but he can adapt his game. He had a really good season last season. Will Gibbs White be focused? Will Hudson-Odoi turn up? I'm not sure everything's going to click this season, and I know a lot of people even went further than me. Some people have said that Forest will get relegated. Forest will be in a relegation battle. I don't think that far because of the quality of the league, but there's naturally going to be a drop off. But for me, you just got to keep stable. Make sure you get to 40 points first. Anyone outside the big six, Villa and Newcastle as well, should be just looking at 40 points first, and then you can focus on Europe because this league, you never know what can happen. So yeah, I've gone Forest 14th. I've got my club 13th, West Ham. A lot of people might be surprised because I've been saying that we're going to get relegated all summer, but the big crucial thing for me is the goalkeeper. Madsen Manson signing today. He's doing his medical today. And for me, that is a really, really good signing because when people were asking me, who do I want to join West Ham? That was the first name that came up for me. Because I was like, if we're going to go and get a new goalkeeper, obviously Fabianski obviously he's left. So I was just like, that was the first person that came to my head. That was the most realistic one that came to my head. And Madsen Manson is going to sign. I'm really happy with that. He's going to be very crucial into playing out from the back and stuff like that, his distribution and his shot stopping as well. But I think what it is that we're still quite mediocre. The squad is still not great. We need a midfielder badly. Our ownership is still running the transfer business, which is very disappointing compared to last season when we had a director of football. But I don't think we're going to get relegated because I think the goalkeeper is crucial. Because if we had Areola in goal, we could be talking about 16th to 18th. And it's not because Areola's even that bad, but it's a case that Areola's fallen off massively. And it matters because when you got a goalkeeper that's heavily relied on distribution and making mistakes, Areola did a lot of that, and he's been doing a lot of it in pre-season as well. I think we've got a good enough spine to stay up, just about. Tadibo, Paquetá, Kilman, even like up front with Fulkirk and Bowen up front. We've got a good enough spine, just about, and it's better than most other people's squads below us. But it's not going to be anything good enough to do anything worthy of note. We're not going to be talking about West Ham this season, really, because we're going to finish mid-table. And to be fair, I wouldn't be surprised if we finish where you put them either. 12th, I went Crystal Palace as well. I went with the exact same position. 12th, 13th is a very Crystal Palace position anyway. They always finish there. But I think winning the Conference League, they can do that. They can win the Conference League. Glasner's a good manager. I actually do think they will win the Conference League because they're not that naive. They're very hard to beat. If you can win the FA Cup, you can win the Conference League. As much as they haven't signed many players, so it makes sense because they needed left wing back depth, and they definitely didn't want to sign Chilwell. They were never going to get him on low wages and stuff. And Tyreek Mitchell was always going to be a starter because of how crucial he is. Daniel Munoz still there. Mark Gay is somehow still there. Every day, every window, he's linked with a move away, but somehow he's still there. Maybe he'll go to Liverpool later on, but I'm not too sure. Like at this point, I thought that was a banker, but he's still there. Lacroix has been amazing for them. Chris Richards has been amazing for them. Chaddy Riyad, I'm pretty sure, is back from injury. I could be wrong, but they've got centre back depth now. They've got a decent squad. They've actually got a decent squad, but they never buy players. So Decore, Wharton, and Lerma as your centre mid depth. Cool. I think Will Hughes might have signed an extra year deal. I could be wrong. Romain Esse is still there. Eze is still there. And Ketia Matata as your striker depth. It's not bad. They haven't got right wing back depth really, I don't think, because Joel Ward has left. So yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult. But Crystal Palace, they'll be good enough to stay where they are. They'll have a typical Premier League season, but I think they'll actually win the Conference League, funny enough. So they actually might get to play in Europa League next season if they're lucky. They should be playing in Europa League now, but rules are rules, I guess. But should we go 11th to 9th?
Yeah, 11th place, but not much to really say on them considering they haven't done any business. I think this is just more of a maintenance season for them. I think another year of, you've still got the likes of Smith Rowe. I think they've done well to keep Muniz, Jimenez. I think they've got good attacking depth up front, good defense at the moment, and their manager's really solid. So I think Fulham fans will be dreaming of maybe Conference League places if they can. But I think once again, I think the top six will be so far away. I think it'll be very hard for them to even get to those heights. But I do think it will be not say a good season. I think it will be for them. So I would say Fulham ninth, and then after them, I've gone with 10th place Nottingham Forest. Um, obviously with now them being confirmed into the Europe, I agree with you. I don't think they will win the Europa League. Not being in Europe for how many years and getting thrown straight in with the squad that they have, I don't think it'll do well. I think they may get through the group stages, but I think once you get to those later rounds, I think they will struggle. You know, they have brought in Danin Doy, who came in from Bologna. I think whether he'll do well in the Premier League is obviously up for debate. I'm assuming that will be the Elanga replacement. But yeah, I think they've done okay business, but the rumours about the unhappy camp, I'm sure will unsettle a lot of Nottingham Forest fans. And obviously, depending on how the season starts, we'll, I guess, see how it goes. And hopefully Nuno puts it all together. But I don't think they'll hit the heights of last season. But I think if they put a good, maybe top run together, I think if they get through to maybe the quarterfinals of the Europa League, I think Nottingham Forest fans will take that. And then ninth place, I've gone with Brighton. Um, again, we'll be pushing for Conference League spots. I think they were very unlucky to miss out last year. I think they just had too big of a drop off. Obviously, losing the likes of João Pedro and Estepinian is, I think, very, very key for them. And again, even though they haven't replaced him, I do think later on in the season, whether it's in the last days of the window or in January, I think they will get replacements for these players. But I like their manager, and I think their squad is still good enough at least maintain where they are currently. Not enough to push for the European spots, but enough to keep them just outside.
Do you know what? Our predictions have been quite similar, to be fair. 11th, I've also gone Fulham. I
Mm,
think even though the lack of business, yeah, cool, that is very worrying. But their squad is really like just really decent for like mid-table. Like I think in all areas they're all right. They've re-signed some players. Uh, they've still got Smith Rowe, Wobie, and Traore all linking up there. Still got
yeah,
Jimenez, still got Rodrigo Muniz, despite the links to Leeds throughout the whole transfer window. Calvin Bassey and Joaquin Anderson's a very good partnership. I really like that partnership. Brent Leno had a good season last season. They've got a good spine. They've got some good options. They've got good depth. I think they're just what it is with Fulham. On their day, they look like the best team, the best team outside the top six sometimes. And then on the other day, they look like they could go down. That's the problem with them. Like that's why 11th is just so perfect for them. So perfect. And Marco Silva, he always adapts. He always adapts. I like Marco Silva. He does well. He does well. And I think they haven't got like clinical players, but they've got players that will turn up in moments. Like Harry Wilson will turn up in moments. Adama will turn up in moments. Smith Rowe, if he stays fit, will turn up. Iwobi has been decent, a very good signing for them. Funny enough, I think Iwobi's quite underrated since he's gone to Fulham. To be honest, he's played really well. He's even upgraded from his Everton days. So fair play to Iwobi as well. Anthony Robinson's a player I've liked for years. For years, I think the fact that he's still there is remarkable. To be honest with you, but Jimenez will turn up, even though like he's getting on a bit in terms of age. He doesn't look like he's slowing down anytime soon. So there'll be enough goals there. 10th, I've got Bournemouth. We've pretty much got Bournemouth and Forest at opposite places. I'm pretty sure similar, but
yeah,
the reason why I've gone Bournemouth at 10th is because of their attacking power. So I still think they have just about enough goals and creativity in them just to do a little bit of something, just not enough to get Europe, which is where I think they should actually try and aspire to be because it's actually very possible for them to get Europe if they bought a couple of defenders. Like, obviously, they're about to lose somebody to PSG, which is a big blow. Hoyson's a big blow as well. Senesi's still there, though. Senesi, before, funny enough, was Senesi Zabani was the partnership before Senesi got injured and then Hoyson stepped in. People forget about Senesi, but he's a really good player. Played for the past couple of years at Bournemouth, done really well. Semenyo signing a new contract is crucial. The fact that Semenyo wanted to stay, fair play to him. The Bournemouth project must be there. I think it was very good for him to sign Truffert as well. Like he's always been touted as a good young player in the French league and stuff. So it'll be good to watch it with my own eyes because I haven't really watched him, but a lot of people vouch for him. But a right back is always a thing where I'm like, they always sign a right back, but they always end up playing Adam Smith. They signed Araujo, they signed Max Aarons, but Adam Smith always plays there somehow. He always manages to sneak in. So the Cook and Christie's a good partnership as well. I think that's the most underrated Premier League partnership. Lewis Cook and Ryan Christie, they've been solid. They've been so solid, and I think they'll build on something there. They just need to sign a couple defenders, and then they're fine. I want them to, for their sake, to go for the Conference League like spots, but um, sign a couple defenders for the love of God. Like centre back and right back, two centre backs and a right back, I'd say, and then you're good. Also, Petrovic is a good signing. That's a very good signing because I know Neto and
Yeah,
Kepa. I know Kepa didn't do bad last season, but there were still times where you would like concede a penalty against Tottenham or whatever, or you would flap away. Neto, a couple seasons ago, was not collecting the ball properly, was not saving properly. Like I think Petrovic, they finally have a goalkeeper they can settle with now. So it'll be good. They've got a good spine there, man. I hope for their sake they do well because their fans have gone through a lot. So I hope they do well. Now for another unpopular pick, but Manchester United.
and do you know what? You're not far off with where I put them. I'll get into my reasoning later.
Like you
Uh,
see,
but,
you see Man United. Yeah, I predicted them to finish eighth last season, and people were looking at me like I'm mad. But they finished
mm,
even lower. They finished lower than West Ham. That's how bad they were.
yeah,
They finished lower than us. It was crazy. And they had a terrible season. Like, cool, they just signed Sesko. That doesn't do anything for me. Like, they just signed Cunha and Mbeumo. But then, hypothetically, you sign Cunha and Mbeumo, and Sesko's up front. That's your front three. Cool. Bruno Fernandes in the pivot. We saw what happened in the Europa League. We saw what happened. He's not physical enough to play there. Then where's Kobe Mainu going to play? Is it going to be Bruno and Agate? That's not good enough. Is it going to be Bruno and Baleba? If they send Baleba and Bruno, there's no ball winner there. There's no one going to tackle. They don't sign anyone that can tackle and like receive the ball on a half turn. Like they don't do that. Like I think, to be fair, Amad Diallo and Dorgu, decent wing back options. But one of them gets injured, then what happens? You play Mazzarari there with Dalot there. Mazzarari is a good like right centre back, back four, good right back, not a wing back. Luke Shaw's still there. We're talking about Luke Shaw in 2025. This guy joined in 2014. Louis van Gaal was manager. Like, how is he still there? Maguire's a good, honest player. Like at the moment, even though I don't rate him to the highest order, squad player, cool. You do your thing. Yoro, Delict, and Mazzarari is a good back three, but you still got Ananda in goal. You still got Ananda in goal. So even when you're sitting back in the back five, people are peppering shots at your goal, and Ananda's still letting them all in. So nothing's gonna really change for me. Like you won't be as bad as last season, but that's not saying much. Like you won't be as bad as last season, but for me, Man United needed a lot of players and a new manager to do anything. Because Amarim, I tried to give Amarim the Bly. This was someone I wanted at West Ham when he was linked with West Ham last season. But it comes to a point where you can give a manager time, but you need to earn the time. And I don't think Amarim has even earned it. Like the squad is bad, but it wasn't 15th, 16th bad. It's a bad squad though, because Man United want to achieve the highest. But you're so far away from that. And you always will be because you always need to rebuild. But the problem is when they bring players in to rebuild, they don't settle in. So then the fans call them bad, and then they've got to rebuild again. There's going to be a lot of unhappy players. There's going to be a lot of stories that we always hear from Man United players again because Man United are always in the media because they have how big they are. We always hear about this player's unhappy and this player's unhappy or whatever. I don't. I think Belieber would be a good signing if they had a ball winner naturally. I think he's a young player that's raw, but he's not someone that you're not going into an environment where young players thrive anyway. Look at Kobe Mainu. He's actually probably their most talented player, but he doesn't fit into this system. Like he's definitely one of the most talented players they have. But people keep telling me about Amad Diallo, Brandon Mbeumo, right hand side. They're going to want to be in the same areas all the time. They're going to get in each other's way a lot. So one of them is going to have to adapt each other's game to facilitate the other, which is it looks good on paper. The front five, bar and Sesko, for me. I don't rate Sesko to that high to that degree, me personally, but at the same time, it's an upgrade on what you have, or anything's an upgrade on Rasmus Højlund. And I just think that's why you finished ninth. I don't think the coaching's good enough, but that's my opinion. I'm gonna say, should we do eighth and seventh, and then we can do like sixth and
we'll
fifth
do the
separate,
top
top
six.
four separate? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I might as well talk about Man United, and I've got to be honest, they're eighth for me. But if you asked me this 48 hours ago, they would have been 11th. I had them
Mm.
at least top of the second half, bottom of second half of the table. But I agree with everything you say. I mean, we're talking about a team that was 15th last season, and I've seen this drop off for ages. I said their midfield was one of the worst in the league. I said if you know how to break Manchester United down, if you work together as a team, Man United looked like a bunch of individuals a couple of years ago, and as a rival, obviously it's great to see, but I saw this coming from I think 1 or 2 years ago. And now all of a sudden they've brought in Mbemba and Cunha and they're thinking, okay, well, that's all of a sudden going to shoot up the table. You know, Man United fans will be aiming for top seven because, they're playing one game a week. But, this is Amarin's second year. We don't know. I feel like they needed Europe to have more games so they can gel together, so that the manager can get his tactics across. Yes, he's had a full preseason, but we don't know how they're going to get on. And for me, I'm not convinced, even with Sesko, and I watched Sesko a lot last year because I was watching a lot of the Champions League games and I watched a lot of Leipzig, and I thought Sesko was very good, but he is still very, very young, and whether he can do it in the Premier League is up for debate. But you know, yes, United still have a good squad together, but the midfield issue, it's like you said before, isn't solved. They had the opportunity to sell Bruno Fernandes for 100 million and they turned it down. And most United fans are torn to whether that was the right decision. And for
Mm.
me, we'll find out this year if that was the right decision. Because you've still got Ugarte, you've still got Casemiro, you've still got Mainu. You know, could you've got taken that money and got someone in better like a Baleba? You know, I do think as well the amount of money they spent nearly 200 million already, and I don't know where they found the money from, but fair play to them because you finished 15th, you definitely didn't hit your targets. I don't know how much revenue they got. I don't know whether it's coming out of the debt or what, but they've spent all this money, so they have to get top seven. But for me, I don't think the squad is that much better for me to say they're going to leap up into the top seven. No way. You know, they still haven't got the wing back depth, which is something that's very key to Amarin's system. And with the striker, even with Sesko, the striker is always going to be a question mark. Their defense, you spoke about earlier about Luke Shaw. I saw him starting against Everton. I think you saw him starting against you in the
Yeah,
summer series. Amarin clearly put a lot of faith in him. And I've seen United players saying things have changed now, but we've heard all this story before. But yeah, for me, United are lucky to be eighth for me. I think with the Sesko signing, you might just about get there. You might get better as the season goes on, but you will miss out on Europe again, unfortunately. Well, fortunately for me, I'd say anyway.
no, who have you got seventh?
Seventh place, I've gone with Newcastle. Now, this was difficult for me to predict because obviously the Isak situation still isn't resolved yet, as of recording. Um, they still, even without Isak, they haven't signed a proper replacement because all of them have been stolen off them. I do think Newcastle will get someone eventually. I do think if worse comes to worse and Isak leave, I do think they will go back in for Wissa and I think they'll manage to get him over the line. But Wissa's not no Isak, but I mean, I think Wissa got over 15 goals last season, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think Newcastle's midfield, they've kept that together. I think it's one of the strongest in the league. And they've got obviously players like Botman and Shark coming back after being injured a lot of last season. So I think Newcastle, even with the Champions League football, obviously they'll have that little bit of drop off. But yeah, I think Newcastle will still do well. So yeah, Newcastle sixth for me. Sorry, seventh, I should say. And then sixth place, I've gone
Wait.
with
Before,
Tottenham.
before. Oh,
Oh, sorry. We'll cut that out. It's
no, go,
fine.
wait,
We'll
wait,
cut
wait.
that.
No. Go with
Fine.
Tottenham. No, go with it. Go with it. You finished. You got Tottenham
Okay,
sixth. Yeah.
yeah, Tottenham sixth. Um, for me, the Thomas Frank, I really rate as a manager. Tottenham are playing Champions League football next season. They signed Kudus, which is it's good for their attacking depth. I know they've got Brennan Johnson there. Obviously, with the loss of Madison, which we heard about a couple of days ago, was a massive. And one of the things that Tottenham fans have been complaining is the lack of creativity within the squad. They have a lot of eights, they have a lot of sixes, but not a lot of tens. Obviously they missed out on the Gibbs White deal, which is unfortunate for them. They've still kept their defensive Romero, Van de Ven, which I think will do well. People are expecting a lot from Solanke in his second season, which may be a bit much, but we'll see how we get on. You know, there's I think it'll be a very big test for Thomas Frank. I do think he can. I do think he is the right man for the challenge, but whether he can get into the top 5 places is a bit of a debate, especially with Champions League football. So I think they've just missed out. So for me, they're going to be 6th for me.
Yeah, so my 8th is Brighton. And the
Yeah,
reason why I've got Brighton is because I don't actually really rate the manager and style of football that highly compared to when Potter and De Zerbi were there, but I think they have better personnel. I think they have better, even with
yeah,
João Pedro gone, Rutter, Matoma, even though Minter can be a bit chaotic, they've still got like decent attackers where it's not even about the player necessarily, it's about how they link up. And to be fair, they got their left back replacement in time ago. I forgot bro's name, but I think he's some Dutch guy for Estupinian. My only thing is their centre backs, like Lewis Dunk has done well over the years, but over the past 2 years, I'd say he's slowed down a bit. Van Heck has stepped up really well, though. Van Heck's been a great player. They've still got Baliba for now, but even then, they've got Max Wyfer, they've got Matt O'Reilly still, and he could leave though. But they've got enough. They've got enough to like be 8th. It's just like out of the people that are like you would call mid-table teams, they've got the most balanced squad with the most quality on the day that suits their style of football. Because no matter what manager's there, they play the same style of football anyway. It's just slightly altered structure-wise. So Jack Hinshelwood's going to have a great season. That's probably the key player I'd talk
mm,
about for me. Jack Hinshelwood's an academy player, stepped up, can play multiple positions. Literally can play across the middle in any position basically and across the wide areas. So he will do well. He will do well. I think Brighton have got a good enough squad to just stay there sort of thing. And 7th I've gone Tottenham. The reason why I've gone with Tottenham is because even with the Kudus signing, they haven't done enough in a transfer window. Like the only other signings they've had is João Paulinho on loan, Mateus Tell and Danso on a
mm,
permanent deal. They'll probably make Paulinho a permanent deal next season no matter what happens because it's a very Tottenham thing to do. Just sign someone that you've already signed and count it as a signing. What Tottenham do, they try and go with market opportunities or cheap signings. That's what they do a lot of the time. The only time they really overpay is for someone homegrown for whatever reason. Don't really know what the strategy is at Tottenham, to be honest, under Daniel Levy, but I've never known what the strategy is with Tottenham under Daniel Levy. They've got a good enough squad to finish in the top 6. I just don't know whether I think Thomas Frank's a good manager. I think he'll actually do quite well there. But it depends what Tottenham fans class as quite well because they probably want to finish in the top 4 and win a cup. That's probably what the target should be. But I don't know whether Thomas Frank is going to make them finish in the top 4. I think they need so much more in attack for that to happen, especially with Son gone. Even though Son hasn't really been doing much over the past couple of years, he's still Son. He's still their biggest goal threat. So Solanke, Johnson, Kudus are going to have to step up goals wise, which I don't know whether they can. Mateus Tell, Odebear, they've got a few attackers, but just none of them are really goal scorers like that. Solanke of instinct, maybe. Richarlison's still there. There's a lot of players there that I'm just like, why are you there? Do you fit with each other? Like, I think Kudus can play well in a transition, but if you're playing against teams that are going to defend against you in the low block and stuff, Kudus is not the man for that. They need someone that's creative now that Madison's injured. They've needed the one anyway. Maybe they go back in Vernze. I don't think they will. They won't go in for Morgan Rogers either because it's not realistic. But give me a scenario. Gibbs White was a crucial one, definitely a crucial one. But 7th, I think. I don't know whether Thomas Frank has got everyone on side. It feels like the loss against Bayern Munich kind of showed that he's not at the level, and the Tottenham squad isn't at the level at its current moment in time. It's like a lot of people need to step up, but maybe he gets more out of what he has right now because that's what he's known for. That's what I was banking on Thomas Frank to do at Tottenham is because he didn't really get to spend much at Brentford. If you're not really giving much at Tottenham, bigger squad, better squad, you might be able to do something. Van de Ven Romero is still a very good centre back partnership on the day. Uh, Pedro Porro, you never know what you're going to get with him. Destiny Adogi needs depth. They've still got a lot of players that shouldn't be there. It's a weird one at Tottenham. They've got some good and some bad. It's a mixed bag. 6th, I've got Aston Villa. I've got Aston Villa because as much as they haven't been that active, they've got Gesson now, who signed from Nice. I'm pretty sure it was a here we go yesterday. I'm pretty sure that's their only signing.
yeah.
I could be wrong.
That's been confirmed. Yeah, that's been
Yeah.
confirmed today, as far as I
Is that
know.
their only signing?
Uh, as far as I know, yes, because they've had a lot of people released. They've brought in Ozcan. They've also brought in Redmond, but I don't think these are first team players.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I don't they haven't done much business, which surprises me. But maybe that'll happen maybe in January.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, because obviously they've got big PSI issues, so they're
Yeah.
just trying to stand smart. They funny enough they put Digne on a lower wage to even afford the striker, so that's very smart business
Mm,
from them. They are quite smart businessmen, even despite their PSI issues. So fair play to them. They've got a good squad still. As much as I don't rate Watkins to the highest level, Watkins under Emery is just a very Emery striker. Like he just knows how to get the best out of them strikers that run down the channels and cut in and score. They're very simple stuff. Morgan Rogers, I've liked Morgan Rogers for time. So yeah, very good player. Kamara and Onana as your midfield options. Tielemans, these are very good players. These It's still way better than some of the other teams that we're talking about that we said that will finish below them. So sixth for me, Aston Villa just makes sense, and I think they could do well in the Europa League as well. They could do well in the Europa League as well. They've got a very good chance to win it. So for their sake, they should probably go and try and win that. But they've got good enough players. Emery's a good coach. I've always liked doing Emery. So yeah, but I'll say we should list off
yeah,
for
should we
like
rattle
our
through
top.
top five because
But
I've only got like 20 minutes on my thing. Sorry, I can hit.
okay,
I got
yeah,
my
no
charge
problem.
things.
But yeah, just like
Um,
let's like list through the top fives and then we'd like debate it a bit. Like we'll just go
yeah,
one by
yeah.
the other.
So I've gone Villa in fifth. Agree with you. I think Europa League will be their main priority. If they were to get Champions League as well, I think that would be dream scenario. I think the fans will definitely take that. You know, their squad isn't as good a condition as what it was at the end of the season, but I think once they get past all the PSR issues, if they can get that out of the way by January, I think they will improve on the squad. And I think the squad is good enough as it is. I think Unai Emery did a great job. I think you know, they battled it out against PSG, obviously in the Champions League, and I think they put on a good show last year for the fans. I think they were very unlucky to miss out to Manchester United on the last day. I think they were very, very poor, but I do think Villa fans can take that next step forward and finish above the likes of Newcastle and Spurs based on the window that they've had so far and based on the fact that, there's a lot of uncertainty. I think there's a lot less uncertainty going on at Aston Villa. So I would say they would go to fifth. And then in fourth place, I've gone with Chelsea. Now, Chelsea have really impressed me. I think they've had one of the best windows. The amount of there's so many ins and outs that's happened there, but they solved their main issue in their goal scoring and getting in João Pedro and Liam Delap, two good options up front, and then even Jamie Gittins on the left. I think he's very very good from what I've seen in the Champions League last year and in the Bundesliga. So I think that's a good signing as well. I'm looking here as well. Joro Hato, you know, and I think a defender was very much needed at Chelsea. I think it was one of their other main issues. And, obviously it was unfortunate. I don't know if you heard yesterday about Levi Colville's
Yeah,
ACL injury. I think that's massive for them. I do think they will look to replace that maybe in January, depending on how his recovery goes. But I think even with the likes of Hato and Chalobah, I think it's okay, but how it will do in the likes of the Champions League is always up for debate. I know they won the Club World Cup, but I think once the season starts, it will be a whole different ball game. Not to say that they won't do well. I do think they are good enough to potentially even get third. You've still got Cole Palmer, who I think will have another very, very good season. You've still got the likes of Neto. You've still got you'll have Gittins on the left. You've got the youngster Esteval, who I saw was playing in the Club World Cup. Really, really impressive. I think Chelsea fans should be very, very excited about him. So yeah, I think a lot of us underestimated how the manager would do, especially when he came in. And I think the Club World Cup is a good step forward, but I think a trophy would be definitely the target for Chelsea this year. And I think something like the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup is something I can think they can definitely win. But as in the league, I think fourth place would be very, very good. So fourth place in the trophy, I think for Chelsea would take that. So yeah, Chelsea would be fourth. And then moving on to third for me would be Man City. And yeah, Man City for me, look, we all know how good Man City can be, but they've lost one of their stars in Kevin De Bruyne. How will that affect them going into the season? Kyle Walker as well, a little bit of experience, not as big of a loss, but still someone that you may gonna need to replace at some stage. But they've got in good replacements. Aït-Nouri, Ryan Cherky, Reinders as well. I think they will perform well this season. I think they will adapt to the Premier League very well from what watched of them so far. Haaland's due for a good season after missing out on the Golden Boot last year, I believe, because he didn't
Yeah.
get it last year, did he? And then I think Foden as well, a big season needed. De Bruyne is not here now. You've got to be the one to step up. Um, I think the only thing that's probably the reason why they won't win the title again is their defense. They've added out Nuri, but I don't think it's going to be enough. And I think teams know how to get at Manchester City now, and I don't think Pep Guardiola is going to adapt his tactics too much this season. I still think he'll go with the same tactics as he was doing before. So for me, I think Man City. I think they'll definitely be in the race, but I think they will drop off towards the end. So that's why I put them third. And then secondly, I've gone second place. I've actually gone with my own team, Arsenal. Obviously, if you remember, if your viewers watched last year, I did predict them to win the league, and obviously we didn't in the end. But look, I've watched the preseason. Obviously, we've lost to Villarreal recently. Obviously, it's preseason at the end of the day, but I've heard a lot of people saying we're seeing a lot of what we saw last year. And look, I do get it. I
think your mic's gone. There you go.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I can hear you now. Let's go.
Yeah, sorry, I think disconnected. Yeah, so on Arsenal, like, look, I'm happy with the signings that we've made so far. I'm hearing that Rodrigo on loan could be a potential possibility towards the end of the window, which would be amazing if we managed to get it done. I've been saying that it's more likely we get Rodrigo on a loan, depending on how his first few weeks go in the Liga, if he gets how much game time he'll get. So I think if we get him, it'll be good. I'm not convinced by the whole Eze stuff. I do think he's a good player, but I don't think he'll work in our system. And if he is coming into play as the 10, I don't want him restricting Wanyeri and Max Dowman potentially, because they're too good to be on the bench for me. So, I do think we still have one of the best defenses for me in the league, and availability for me was the issue last season. Once again, trying to get over the line, but the squad depth is better this year. The availability, I think, will be better this year. Whether Gyökeres will adapt to the Premier League is still unknown, but once again, I do think we will be doing better in the other cups. I still think we want to win a trophy this season, 100%, but I don't think it'll be this one, because I do think the team in first just has that little bit more. But I do think we will come very, very close again, which I know is very typical Arsenal, but I have to be honest and say we're not, as it stands right now, Premier League champions ready at this stage anyway. The team that I do think is Champions League level ready is obviously Liverpool, who I've put as my champions. I mean, Florian Wirtz coming in for 150 million. I mean, I would say it's a big gamble, but if you've watched the Bundesliga, you know how good of a player he is. I mean, for them to pull that off is very good. And the people that, you've replaced Trent Alexander-Arnold with Frimpong, who's for me is a very, very good player. You've brought in Kirkes, who was one of the best left backs in the league last season. Ekitike you brought in for the good attacking depth. The front three at the moment, you've got Wirtz, Salah, and Gakpo potentially, or you can put Ekitike on if you want. And if they do get Isak in, which at the moment I feel like is 30% to happen, I think it puts them in a very, very, very strong position. So the only thing with Isak is he does get injured at some parts in the season, but I do think they have the squad depth to be able to deal with that. The only thing that might stop Liverpool from winning the league is maybe if they don't get in another centre back to cover the likes of Van Dijk and Konate. I think there'll be question marks there, but I think Liverpool may replace that by the end of the season. I know you're speaking about Guehi earlier. He is that Palace for now. Whether that will change before the end of the window, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, for me, Liverpool will win the Premier League.
Yeah, but our top four is very different. I've
enough.
gone You're not gonna like it. I've gone Arsenal fourth, and I'm not even the only reason why. Well, not the only reason. I've got a few reasons. For me, with your transfer window, this needed to be the transfer window. This needed to be the transfer window. I think Gyökeres makes sense. I think Zubimendi makes sense, but they are the starters. For me, you haven't brought in enough starters to fully take you over the line. I don't know. You said you're not going to get over the line, but for me, with Arsenal, I don't trust your coach or the balance of your squad to maintain another second place and another chance to maybe like miss out on a cup again. Because I don't feel like your manager takes cups enough seriously enough anyway. But I don't also feel like you guys know how to get over the line. And also, it frustrates me when I watch like someone like a Declan Rice, for example, the way I see you guys use him, because he's either too far forward or he's either been relying to play make from deep. And for me, he's just a guy in a pivot, wins the ball, very good at winning the ball, destroys counter attacks, drives to the ball very well. But he's been even used as an 8, running down the left hand side at times, or he's been used like picking up the ball from the centre backs and then trying to play through before he was moving to that 8. And it's just like you can't use him in either of those positions, really. Like he has to be placed like in a double pivot. If you adjust like Rice and Zubimendi pivot, Wanyeri maybe in front, because I think Wanyeri, this could be his season if he plays. But whether your manager will play him is a different thing. Because I feel like he should be given more of a chance. I feel like he relies too much on the right hand side with Saka. Like I understand there's sometimes the criticism of Saka, and I understand the praise of him because of how good he is. But for me, there's too much reliance on one person at times. It's like, Saka, go and do something for us all the time. And it's just like, Saka can do some things, but you need your left-hand side to step up. And I don't feel like you've addressed that enough. I don't feel like you're getting I don't think Rodrigo's leaving. But the only reason why I don't think Rodrigo will leave is just because he likes Real Madrid that much as a Brazilian. And you know what these Brazilians are like in the Spanish league. They'll just stay there. That he'll be fine being a squad player because he'll feel like my chance will come. My chance will come. Mbappe and Vinicius can't stink out for this long without me getting a chance, sort of thing. I feel like people know that, and like when they're in the club, sort of thing. I just don't feel like Rodrigo's going to leave. With Eze, I actually agree with you on the Eze thing, by the way, the whole fitting into the system thing, because I think Eze's a good player, but I just don't think you'll use him correct. Like for me, like I think he's very good in the middle. I'm glad you guys don't see him as a winger though, but he's not a touchline winger. He's a good number 10, but at the same time, if you've got players already, like Dalman and Wanyeri, like young players that you do feel like are ready, there's no point stockpiling. Because Max Dalman, we don't know, he's 15 years old. I'm not going to put too much eyes on the guy. Wanyeri's a very good player. I think he's ready, me personally. I think the way he strikes a ball from outside the box, like, is amazing to me. Like, and I think that's what Arsenal have needed from midfield. But I don't think like you have a good enough natural left back, because either you got like Lewis Kelly's a good footballer, just not a left back for me. Like when he went, not Wanyeri, Zinchenko is still there, but he won't play. That's cool. But Calafiori, I don't think he's good enough at defending wide areas. For me, I think he's actually alright as a centre back because that's his position. But he's good. He's good going forward. He's good at centre back. When it comes to wide areas, defending wide areas, that's what you need to do as a left back. But then again, he's not actually a left back. But with this whole centre back at full back thing, it's kind of annoying. But then again, I think Jurriën Timber's a very good player. I think Declan Rice is a good player regardless. Saka's obviously a very good player. Gyökeres, for me, it just depends how you use him. Just use him to your strengths, sort of thing. But I just don't feel like the striker was the be-all and the end-all. I think you needed one. Don't get me wrong, you definitely needed one because of your squad already. But all the signings you have, only 2 of them are starters. And that's not enough for me. Like, I think Gabriel and Saliba on their day are a very good partnership. You got to make sure you don't get figured out on a counter where, like, so, when someone like Isak was going at them in the Carabao Cup last season, like them kind of mobile players with strength that just run at these type of players. That's their, not kryptonite, but that's what they're not used to coming up against those type of players. They're used to coming up against box strikers. That's why they do so well against Haaland, because Man City don't use Haaland to his strengths in terms of running it behind all the time. So Gabriel and Saliba are good at defending those kind of players at times. I think for me, the reason why Arsenal will drop off a bit is because too much reliance on the right-hand side, not enough balance. I feel like you don't really know how to use your midfield properly. And that's kind of a worrying thing because I think Declan Rice is an amazing ball winner that just doesn't get used properly. I think you need a natural left-back. God knows what season David Raya is going to have. I have no clue. at this point. But you have good players there. I just don't think it was the transfer window to take you over the line. But that leads me on to my third place with Chelsea. The reason why I think Chelsea will just about finish above Arsenal, maybe, very maybe, could challenge, even though I think the Colwill thing is very crucial, because as much as I don't rate Colwill to that high, he was playing well before his injury. He was playing really well before his injury. But then they got Jarell Hato, they've got Benoit Badiashile, they've got Fofana coming back. I know Badiashile is injured right now, but he can play his role. Chalobah's there, Tosin Adebayo's there. So cool, they've got enough players. But at the same time, I think what should take Chelsea above Arsenal is the midfield. The midfield, Caicedo, Enzo, they know how to use it. It's not even about personnel necessarily, they know how to use it. Caicedo will probably be Chelsea's best player again this season. Cole Palmer, I think he's due to have another great season. Esteval coming in, Jamie Gittins coming in. I agree. I think Gittins would do really well just because I think he suits Maresca system quite a bit, to be honest. João Pedro and Delap as your strike options could go either way for me because I think João Pedro is a good player, but is he a 20-goal a season striker? I'm yet to see it. But then again, if Cole Palmer steps up with goals, if Esteval, Neto, whoever's there steps up with goals, then it doesn't matter because then everyone can share the goals. But yeah, Chelsea third for me. Man City second. The only reason why I think Man City second is because they're not going to let them have another season like that. I agree with you on the defense thing, but I think they'll adjust a little bit. And what I mean is that I don't even rate the Aït-Nouri signing like that. But I think that what they'll do is they'll pretty much go to a 3 in possession and just send Aït-Nouri as basically a winger, and then Gavardio will cover all the spaces. A bit like how Trent used to be used when Liverpool won the title in 1920 sort of thing. I think Kusanov will step up. I think he's settled in because Pep always does this thing where you won't play as much now, but you'll settle in. And later, Reinders will do well, as you said. I think hopefully Rodri gets back to full fitness, but I think Nico Gonzalez can step up in this place if used correctly. The only thing with me with Pep is team selections, where Gundogan is favoured a lot, Kovacic is favoured a lot, and Kovacic is a good player, but he's good next to a 6. Gundogan is past his best. That was not a good idea to bring him back. As much as it sounded good, it wasn't a good idea to bring him back in the end because he just passed his best. Cherki, a lot of reliance on Cherki this season because it's going to be very difficult to step in the foot of De Bruyne. But as you said, Phil Foden needs to have a mad season this season because last season was not good enough. I think Savio will improve. I think Savio will improve. I think Oscar Bob will step up as well. Marmouche is going to be very good this season. Him and Haaland are going to have a good relationship. So I think Aït-Nouri will go down the left and then Marmouche will kind of play like next to Haaland in possession. And then we'll probably see either Savio on the right. And I think they'll do quite well. But I think the De Bruyne thing might have hindered them a bit. But it depends how fit Rodri will come back for me. But Liverpool winning the league. Liverpool have done mad business. They've been active. They even included some of their youngsters as depth, like Trey Noni and the Rio guy are probably going to be depth, maybe Ben Doak as well if he stays. But I think the only thing with selling Diaz and Nunes and not getting like Isak in is depth. That's the only thing for me. That's the only thing. But that's why I think they'll win. It'll be like last season. They'll win the league, but I don't think they'll win another cup. I think the league will be their only trophy. That's just. I think someone different win the FA Cup. Someone different win the Carabao like last season. But they've signed some good players. Kirkes, Frimpong. I really like Frimpong. I think they've got the midfield to cover Trent's passing, but the wing back to cover Trent's attacking play down the right. Kirkes will do well on the left. I think whether they get Isak or not, they're going to win the league regardless. It's just Isak will determine what the points tally is and the points gap between first and second. But that is our Premier League predictions, people. It's good to do this and for another year. Jay, where can they find you? What you got coming up, bro? Thank you for coming on the channel.
Yeah, no problem. So for anyone interested, I am on TikTok, AFCJX11. There'll be a link in the description. Also follow me on Instagram. I'll be releasing basically Premier League predictions every single week. Same with the Champions League. Also be doing reviews over on Threads. If anybody has Threads, I'll be doing reviews of all the games, maybe even doing some reviews on your games as well. So yeah, I'll have links in the description if you guys want to hear from me more or see more of my content. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm assuming you're doing FPL League. I know I asked you this a couple of weeks ago. Yes, I will have an FPL League code that will be starting next week. We'll be doing weekly updates on leaderboards if anyone's interested in joining. So yeah, thank you for having me on, Mikey, once again for another year. Look forward. Who knows? Maybe you guys will see me again in the year, but if not, I will be back next year doing Premier League predictions like this again.
Yeah, no, it's great to do this again. Obviously, as Jay said, link is in the description to Jay's TikTok, Jay's Instagram as well. So go and check that out, people. And yeah, leave your predictions in the comments below if you made it to the end of the video as well. And yeah, we're gonna have more lives across the week and stuff as well. Gonna be very active. So yeah, make sure to smash the likes, subscribe if you're new. Social media's are in the description if you want to follow me, the email for the inquiries. And I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.